Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Dare to Differentiate podcast. This is Khani, your host. And today we have a very special guest, artist, songwriter, performer, Alnev or Ari Rabin. Excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm pumped for this.
Anything else that I missed out?
No, I think you described me pretty well.
Okay.
I mean, Alnev or Ari, it's the same to me.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the name Alnev?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So like I have like a fake story behind the name, and I have like a real story because like when people ask me, "Oh, what does it mean?"
Right.
The fake story is like my friend's grandmother is Hungarian, and my best friend's grandma, like she inspired the name, and there's like a whole sob story which isn't real, but I like to say it sometimes.
Does
But
the friend exist?
yeah, the friend does exist, and his
Okay.
grandmother is Hungarian, but she did not inspire this. When I was, I think, 17, I had like a list of names. But probably when I was like 14, I started coming up with a list of names of like things that I was like, I didn't even know I was gonna make art ever. Like I just wanted to have like a name. I don't know why. I always wanted like a stage name because in my head it was always like, oh, imagine I had a stage name, you know?
Right.
So I started coming up with a list when I was like, I think 14. And then when I was 17 and I was starting to like, I was writing more, taking it a little more seriously, I was going to play a show in my school, which is a school called Wilkes. Best thing I ever did. Amazing, amazing school. We could talk more about that. I had a list of about 100 names, like 100 different things I came up with. Yeah, I was like, I want to choose one of these. And it was like things I heard or things I found or like a lyric that inspired a name or some like, I came up with a lot of names. And then at some point I was like, okay, I'm going to choose one. I cut it down to 4. I'll never reveal the 4 I cut it down to because if I do, people will be like, why didn't you choose the other ones? Whatever, you know, like
Right.
I'd rather it be just for me. But I like told 2 people what the 4 options were and we all settled on Alnev. We're like, that's the move. What it means is a pen name. So like my pen name is kind of the idea. It's like a little meta, a little different. And when I first chose it, I don't think I really like attached any specific meaning to it. I was like, oh, it sounds cool and I like it.
What language is it?
It's Hungarian.
Okay.
Oh yeah, so like
you
that's
said
where the
Hungarian
Hungarian grandmother
Got it.
comes in. Yeah. It's Hungarian for pen name or pseudonym.
Interesting.
It didn't really have any meaning, and then like over time, I've kind of come to like associate some more meaning to it, which is basically there's me, there's Ari. That's like who I am, right? Like I've always been Ari since I was a kid, since I was a baby, I guess, you know. And then like as an artist, I think there's like multiple sides. As a human, we all have like multiple sides to us, you know, like our soul isn't just one thing. We have multiple parts and multiple ways of expressing. And I feel like I want like Alnev is a title for the part of me that expresses music. So like as a poet, I also write some poetry, but like I don't think I consider that like Alnev material because it doesn't feel like it
Interesting.
comes from the same place in my soul that like Alnev stuff does. So it kind of has like this like it's like a name that represents creation of music from me.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, there's like I can get deeper than that. There's like
Yeah.
even more to it. Like it's also like a bit of a mask because like even as an artist, like, you're not just writing how you feel exactly. You know, there's like a lot of things I want to say, a lot of things I don't want to say. Like I love being vulnerable. That's like one of my favorite things to do.
Right.
Like I can be vulnerable forever. Like I'll talk to anyone about anything.
Right.
I like always wear everything on my sleeve, most things. But like when you're making music and you're sharing that with people, there's definitely like a sort of limitation that you place on like what you say. Like I'm not going to start name dropping everyone. Like I have songs about many people that I don't say their names, obviously, because like that's not how it works. So Alnev is kind of like, it's like an expression of me, but it's also a mask on like it's like a mask on the expression itself. It's like it like represents that there's limits because it's named. It's not just like this thing. It has a name to it. So like it has limitations. There are boundaries. There are styles that I lean into because of like I don't know. It's hard to like, I guess, describe, but hopefully that means something.
Yeah, it does. It's actually really fascinating because I feel like that's what art is.
Yeah.
Like putting a name to something, putting a face to something, putting an identity to something, and knowing that that's not the whole story. But you have to put it into something to be able for it to get on a stage, to be able to like put on an album, to be able to upload it to Spotify. Like
Absolutely.
you can't, it has to be something. You have to have like, and I think that's the biggest challenge with artists in general, which I actually wanted to talk to you about, is like taking the art and putting it somewhere and expressing it in a specific type of way, and then it obviously be something that gives back to the artist and not, it doesn't like completely deplete you. Right.
Yeah.
But what's funny, what you were talking about having a specific style. When I first started listening to your music last year, I was at your concert on Hanukkah.
Yeah.
And then I added some songs to some of your songs to my playlists. And then, I was listening to like a random, like cool mix or whatever. And then I started playing, and then I was like, wait, this sounds like Ari. And then I'm like, I just like wanted to check like who it was, and it was you. I'm like, I think this sounds like Alnev. Like, I wonder who has like doppelganger like music voice. And it was hilarious.
Sick.
But you definitely do have like a very distinct music voice, and it's fascinating that was like your intention going into it, because it really does come through.
Yeah, well, I feel like going into it, like it's really unconscious. I think everything like in the beginning is unconscious. Like I'm just doing things, and then like looking back, it's like, oh, here's like what was really going on behind the scenes. Like even when I write songs, like I write something, I'm like, okay, this means something. And then like I'll have a conversation with someone, they're like, I noticed that you said this word. Like, does that mean this thing? And I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that, but it actually does mean that. Like there's some part of me that also I put that in.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah, like I think in hindsight, you learn a lot. So like a lot of what I'm saying now, I wouldn't have said when I was 17 because I wouldn't have known it, But then over time, you're like looking back, you're like, okay, like what does Alnev really mean? Like what is my music? Like you start questioning yourself, and then you like have answers to your questions. Because like I never had questions when I started. I was just doing what I did,
Do you feel like, because you were talking about how Alnev is like the expression of your like music side of you, do you feel like you want to name other parts of yourself? Because you mentioned like being a poet and like other things. I'm curious.
Yeah, I feel like I like naming things. I don't know, like a lot of people will write songs and like not name, like they'll be like, oh yeah, I didn't name this one. I'm like, what? Like you have to name things. I guess the anxiety around naming something is you're limiting it, which is kind of the whole thing. Like once you name it, that's the name. You can't like take it back, So like I think around naming like an object or like a kid or like an instrument, like I name my instruments, like they all have names, but like if I was naming like a kid, I'd be like, oh my God, I'd have so much anxiety around getting it right, because like you only get one chance. You can't like, okay, it's 2 years later, we're changing your name now,
Yeah.
But I just went off from what you were saying, but you asked about, what did you ask about?
No, you actually did kind of answer it, because I asked you about like, do you name different parts of yourself? And I actually do want to kind of unpack the whole naming thing.
Yeah.
Because it's fascinating. And it sounds like you have a lot of insight on that. But do you feel like you name other parts of your creative self or your personal self, your relational self?
Got it. So I think Ari for me is like who I am. It's like the biggest name for me. Like if like anyone can call me Ari, whether they know me, they don't know me, like I am Ari. That covers like relationships, friendships, like anything that's life. Like I guess the biggest name I could think of, which is like the least limiting, is Ari, which is me. And then there's like Alnev is the music one. For poetry, I think I usually go under Ari. I don't think I've ever done a poem under the name Alnev, but like I don't really like release poetry. I had like a little poetry ebook once, which was like a cute little online book that like had like 12 poems or something. And I've had some like poetry like in like random, I've like sent it to random places that like I've printed them and like very, very like random things, but that's usually under like my regular name. But I don't think I've named like other parts of myself really. Like I feel like it's Ari or Alnev, like we'll see, like there could be more.
Right. Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned for that.
But it's so interesting. A few things came up when you were talking about names and like the anxiety of like naming something and like owning it. I'm so curious like what your thoughts are on that, because it seems like it's something that you do like very naturally. So what kind of insight do you have on for people who don't have that like immediate connection to like a name or like a...
I mean, I don't know if I'll have the best advice, because I for sure experience anxiety around naming things, but like I just push through it. Like when I'm naming a song, I just wrote a song yesterday. I wrote 4 songs this week, which is like really crazy. I've never written, I've like the max songs I've written in a month was 3, and that's like once a year. Yeah,
And
so
it's
like
only Thursday.
yeah, and it's only Thursday, and I've written 4 songs since like Saturday night.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very crazy. But yesterday I wrote a song and like I couldn't find the right. I was like trying to figure out what the best name for it was, and my roommate was like listening to it. He like listens to my. At least this week he's been listening to my music, and he loves my stuff, so he just like comes and listens and tells me his thoughts. But like I wasn't sure what to name it, but at some point you just like you have to jump into something. Like I won't leave without naming it, you know? Like I think everyone who has to name something, you just have to jump in with something, you know?
Yeah.
And like I think it's like they say there's like a divine, like with parents there's like a divine knowledge for names. Like like they say you'll just know when you have a kid, the divine spirit somehow enters you and you just know, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like it's not just with like kids. I think my songs are like little babies too.
Yeah.
They're my own little babies. And I think like I kind of like I know what feels right when I name it. Like I know what names would feel right when I say them.
Right.
You know? So yeah.
Well, that's also like a whole fascinating conversation of like art and how it's like a child, literally, like something that you birth into existence, into this universe.
Yeah.
By like the whole process of all the different steps of becoming, and like your art, like just the whole gestational process of the art, and then also like what that makes you. Like it makes you a parent, it makes you an artist.
Yep.
And like the birth of like all of that.
Yeah.
And all the transitions. I'm curious what you want to share your experience on that.
There's one thing that I've had like a problem with is, I don't know if it's a problem, but so far it's been a conversation with people. Is like I've had people say, hey, like would you ever consider like giving your song up to someone else? Like can you give it to someone, and if you gave your song to a bigger artist who would release it under their name, you'll get writing credits for it, but it'll be under their name, they'll put it out, you know, like would you do that? And I've been asked that a few times, and like it feels like giving up a baby. Like I don't know if I can give up the songs that I make for myself and be like, oh, here, take this and do it. Like I feel like maybe like if there's a song I really hate that I write, I'm like, listen, someone else might love it more than me.
Put it up for adoption.
Exactly. Like put it up for adoption. Exactly. But I think like if I'm writing something under Alnev, and I feel like it comes out of that part of me, like the part of my soul that I've named Alnev, the music part of me, like it's a child. So it's really, really hard to give away. I think the only exception is when I'm writing with someone. It's really cool because then you're kind of co-parenting. You're like actually creating some sort of new existence together. And some of the funnest stuff I've done is like co-writing, like helping friends write their songs, writing songs, like doing writing sessions. Like I've written songs with people I would not have ever believed I could. Like really, really cool stuff that I'm really happy about.
What's that experience been like? Gonna share?
Yeah, I could share it. So without going into too much detail, because it's in a longer conversation, it's not so important, but like to me it is kind of cool. Right. I've been going to LA every couple of months since last year, and I became friends with this artist that I've loved since I was 15. Like she is a huge inspiration of mine. Like I've like listening to her music from literally age 15, following along to every single, every album, like every Instagram post. Like I've been a fan for a long, long time. And I guess I was 19. I think I was 19. So I guess I'm 21 now, like as of a month and a half ago.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm 21 now, but I guess I was like 19, almost 20 when I met her. Very like I DM'd her. She said she's going to be in New York. She was like, reach out if you want to hang out. And it was for like business people or associates that already knew her. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to DM her anyway. So I DM'd her, and then it ended up working out. And she was like, yo, I'm with my friends, come meet me. I was like, okay, sure. Like I was like,
what?
Like it feels like a scam. So I went and I hung out with her and I sang her some songs. And she was like, she loved it. And then I met a bunch of her friends and I made a bunch of connections. And then when I went to LA, like I guess like a couple of months later, I went to LA and she was like, hey, we're writing a song together. I was like, okay, like sick, let's do it. And then I went to her house and we like had like a 6-hour conversation about life, and like I taught her about Judaism. I always teach people about Judaism for some reason. I don't know why. I guess
life chose you.
Yeah, when you grow up Chabad and you grow up in like this community, like everywhere you go, like it's just part of you. Like you just have to express some sort of Jewish ideas. So I taught her a bunch about Judaism, and we had a really good conversation. And then we wrote a song together. Her name's Maddie Noise. You should check her out. She makes really, really good music. But that was like a moment that, like, looking back, it's like, I can't believe I got to write a song with someone that since I was 15, I've been a fan of. Like that's huge, you know? And I think, like, hopefully from here, it only goes up. Like, I have my list of people I want to write a song with.
But she wasn't even on your list because you didn't even dream about it.
Well, I did not think it was a possibility. There wasn't a list. I don't think there was even a list, like, really until I realized I could write a song with her. And I was like, oh my God, like, I'm making a list, like a manifestation list of, like, here's all the people I'm going to write a song with. Like, I can't wait.
So cool.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to put your song out?
I hope so. We never produced it. Not never. We haven't produced it yet is a better way to say it. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we'll produce it. I think it's a good song. She likes it. I think it'll be really cool when we do. Because, you know.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned being Chabad and being brought up Chabad. Do you want to talk a little bit about your background and how it affected your music?
Yeah, I could. Okay, you ready for the dark stuff? Okay, without getting into too many of the gory details, I grew up Chabad. Like, my parents are the Chabad Shliach life. I don't know if many people know it, but if you do know it, it's not the easiest life for a kid.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. It's one of those things. But there were a lot more issues. Just to keep it mild, there were a lot more issues than just, like, Chabad. Like, that wasn't the biggest problem. Mm-hmm. But I had a pretty rough go at it as a kid. Really, really, like, not healthy space for me. Did not do well. Like, I could go on for, like, if you want to know about my childhood, just listen to my songs and, like, you'll get to know. Like, you'll get to know a lot. Like, I'm pretty open about it in my songs. But what, like, having, like, a pretty bad childhood makes you, like, associate anything in that experience with, like, negative connotations. And one of the things was Chabad. Like, I wasn't raised in a way that Chabad was given, like, fair credit, you know. I think I really hated it growing up. A lot of things about Judaism I hated. I blamed God for a lot of things. It was really, really tough. So, like, I definitely had to, like, the way I view Judaism and God and religion and like life also, just, like, the way I viewed everything was really not in a healthy way or a positive way. You know, it wasn't my fault, but it was that way. And then I think the big shift for me was going to Wilkes, which was, like, going to, when I was 15. Best thing I ever did. I will always say that. It was the best thing I ever did was going to Wilkes. I was 15. I had no idea what school I was going into. I had no idea what it was like. Like, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know, like, what I would learn there. I just, like, needed to go to a school, and I was not interested in going to the old schools I went to. And Wilkes is kind of this, like, alternative Chabad school for kids who, not necessarily Chabad, but, like, the school is Chabad, but kids come there from everywhere. And it's for kids who kind of are alternative and don't fit in with the mainstream necessarily. And, you know, like, the Divergent kids. I'm watching the Divergent movies right now, so, like, I'm just thinking about that. But yeah. But just going to that school, I think, like, on one of the first days of school, the Rabbi Goodman, he's one of the rabbis there, Rabbi Yossi Goodman, like, one of the best people I've ever met, still is one of the best people I know. He was giving, like, a Hasidus class, and it was, like, one of the mornings, and, like, we're all sitting there, like, tired, like, not that interested, and, like, it's kids from all over. It was, like, about 20 kids in this, like, tiny cabin in the woods, because this was, like, the younger version of Wilkes, whatever. There was, like, a called Mount Cobb, which was, like, doesn't exist anymore, but it was back when Wilkes had, like, a younger division that was separate in, like, a cabin literally on top of a mountain in the woods in Pennsylvania. Like, very whack, but, like, really, really fun. And it was, like, 20 of us.
Like the Hasidic masters.
Yeah.
Wherever.
So it was 20 of us, like, sitting during Hasidus, and he said, like, I don't remember what he was saying. He was talking about, like, the whole king in the field thing, which, like, I've heard, like, a million times. Like, I'm sick of that whole concept, you know? I'm sick of a lot of things, but that's just one that, like, I always hear. And he was just talking about it, and then he said the words, "and in our relationship with God." And I was like, what did he just say? Like, I have no idea what that means. Like, I was so confused. In, like, a relationship with God, I don't know what that means. Like, I've never heard the words "in a relationship with God." Like, there's God and there's you, and you do what God wants, and, like, there's rules and you follow the rules. Like, that's what it is. Like, what do you mean there's more to it, you know? So I went to him after class. I was like, "Hey, this is how I remember it. I'm pretty sure it's how it happened, but, like, I don't know what he would say." But I went up to him. I was like, "What did you mean by a relationship with God?" And I remember he was just like, "Oh my God, we have a lot to work on. Like this is going to be fun." And then that was a key moment for me. And, like, over time in that school completely shifted the way I view Judaism and religion and myself and like everything, like really, really changed my view on things. And I can say now, like I have a much, much healthier view of everything and a much, much more balanced and personal connection with Judaism and with God and with my belief, so
Wow.
that's my story in terms of like
cool.
Chabad stuff.
Yeah. And I'm sure that how has that conversation impacted your like music or just changed your life?
Like specifically relationship with God.
Yeah.
I don't think it it's definitely affected my life, which means it ended up affecting my music somehow. But I'm not sure like how I would trace it. Cause like in my music, I don't really bring up God so much. When I do bring up God, I bring it up like in the most like cynical, when I bring up God, it's usually in like a dark song or like with anger and with like leaning into that like childish way of viewing God. But I don't think I bring in like any of the spiritual. There's not so many like religious tones that are like actively like, hey, this is a religion that I think you should be a part of, so listen to the song. A lot of like the music is kind of, I can rant for hours about the Jewish music and music made by Jews and like how it's been going and my feelings on it. Like,
do you want to hit it?
I could, but like I feel like I can make a lot of people angry. But
okay.
But before I hit it, just to finish, like I don't like, for me, music is just music and it's just expression. And I feel like the best music, the music that really gets me and the music that like really like helps me breathe and keeps me going is music that is clearly someone's vulnerable expression, and whether it's through lyrics or it's through musicianship or it's through like instrumentation or it's through arrangement, like when you feel someone's soul through music, that's the music that you don't forget, Anyone can write a song that's like, oh, hey, here's a marketing pitch for why you should join a religion, but not anyone can write a song that's like, hey, here's an expression of my soul, take it or leave it, like I'm going to be vulnerable with you, And I feel like, to rant a bit,
I actually love what you said. And thank you for sharing that, because I think it's such a valuable, and I think that's what you bring to the music world that's so powerful and valuable. And
thanks.
So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, so like the reason, it's not like I actively don't want to bring up things that are religious. It's more like, if I don't feel the need to, then I won't. And like, I don't feel the need to, because like there's enough of it, I guess. And like it's never been like an urge of mine to be like I'm not trying to preach, I guess. I don't preach in my music. I'm not trying to preach to anyone. I think a lot of religious music is preaching. It's like, here's a bunch of Hebrew words that you all read in your prayer book, and now you can look at it and listen to it, and you can show it to your kids, and it's clean and it's safe, and like, look, we all love this, It's like, I don't think that there's so much depth in that, or like there's not so much expression in that. There's probably some amount of it, but to me it's like, I don't know, I don't consider it so much art, or like it's not something that like is going to take your breath away. It's not something that's going to make you like remember it. It's something that like you're like, okay, like let's turn it on in the car because we're driving the kids to school, I guess. Like I guess they can listen to it, Right. But yeah, so like my problem that I've had with the Jewish like music industry that I'm trying to change. Not that I'm like necessarily trying to like, I'm also not trying to preach like everyone has to do what I'm doing.
Like if it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah. If it works for you, it works for you. But like personally, am I going to listen to just like to the religious music that is empty of expression? No, I won't. There's also religious music that is not empty of expression that I think is beautiful. I think Isha Ribo is like a really big, has brought like, he's so popular now, and a big thing that I love about that is like his lyrics, they're in Hebrew, so like a lot of people don't get them, but like I happen to know Hebrew and I understand a lot of it. And as a musician, as an arranger, as a composer, like he's really an artist. Like he actually is expressing like art. So like I applaud that. That's really, really good. I think it's really good for the community to have people who are not just making art that's like, oh, well, it's convenient and everyone is used to it. It's like, no, like I'm an artist. and I'm going to express, and let's see what happens with it, you know? And like, he happens to write a lot about God, but like, he does it from a place that's him, you know, it's him writing about God.
Yeah.
A lot of the Jewish artists they're not even writing their own songs.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the mainstream, whatever mainstream means, but a lot of like in the last like 20, 30 years, it's like, no one's been writing music. They've been just like, okay, let's hire someone to write a song, throw some Hebrew words in. Oh, look, we have a song now. And oh, what instruments are we going to use? Let's bring that annoying brass in again. Yeah, we can always use some more trumpets. Like, I love trumpets, but there's always like, there's an overuse of like the same musical themes. There's no like expression. So like what I want to do, and not that everyone can do what they do, you know, but something that I value that I'm doing is, that I'm trying to do at least, is,
and that you're putting yourself out in this way.
Exactly. Is to be a vessel of expression and to create art that's meaningful, that's impactful, that's vulnerable, that isn't just, it doesn't need to be convenient, and it doesn't need to be, I don't need everyone to listen to it, but at least I'm making the move of being myself, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one thing that people are afraid of is like, well, we don't want it to be too much like secular music. A lot of the religious music is like avoidance and fear of being too secular. Yeah. And like, I don't know, like, you want to get people, you think you're gonna get people nowadays with like overly like overdone religious preaching. Like, I don't think it works. Like, it's just like, we live in 2023 right now. It's January, who knows what, it's January 5th of 2023. Like, TikTok rules us, you know, the algorithms rule us now. Like, who knows where we're gonna go, but
can we be excited to see what's ahead?
Yeah.
And like jump into it and find ways of expression through all of that.
Absolutely.
It's so interesting. You're talking about people being afraid to express themselves. And this is honestly one of like the main reasons what I do with this podcast, is because to be able to bring those conversations. And I know you're like trying to be respectful, and you don't want to like, you know, be like disrespectful. And I'm like, by expressing yourself, I'm like, please express yourself. Like, let's like bring it. Like, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And I think that is really cool. Like, you're not flippant about respect. You're just like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And this is what I bring to the table. And I think that's such a beautiful value, especially with like the things that you mentioned. And it's not easy to say no to some things and say yes to some things, and stay true to who you are in your own personal value system, in the way that you express your art. I think is inspiring to all artists, and we're all artists because we're all people, and we all put things out, and we all say things, and hopefully more than that. But I would love to hear more if you have any insight for people who want to like express themselves, and how they can, or how you've been able to express yourself and still stay true to who you are and stay true to where you come from in a way, and where you are. Yeah. Like, it's like this whole, it's like all the different parts of our identity. Yeah. In the present. I'm just curious what you're.
Yeah. So just like one thing about that is like a big part of what I'm doing is like, I want to have more artists who were raised Chabad and grew up in like the system that I grew up in, and I want them to feel comfortable and confident and able to express themselves. And, you know, I feel like no one's done it, you know, like there's a few people, and like people will say like, well, like Matisyahu did it, you know, it's like, well,
like what happened?
Exactly. But like now like that's a whole nother piece of drama. Like, what happened with that? What did that mean? And like, also one thing about Matisyahu is like, he's great, but he's reggae. Like, reggae is a very, very specific genre, like that isn't necessarily world affecting, you know. It's like, it's an amazing genre, but like in terms of mainstream listeners, like you're not necessarily changing the entire world like the same way a pop artist does. A pop artist hits everyone's ears, right, you know. And there really hasn't been someone who was raised Chabad, who grew up Chabad, who is now in the pop music space in a mainstream way, and expresses their own art and expresses themselves, and on this checklist, and is still connected to their religious background in some way, still connected to the community in some way, you know?
Their identity, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like I want to show, one thing I want to do is like set an example, hopefully like as I build a bigger audience. And like the goal for me isn't just, like show the Jewish community that I make great music, or like affect the Jewish community with great music. I think it's affect the world with great music. It's not just limited to the community. It's like I want to make music that isn't limited to just the people who live in the 18 blocks of Crown Heights, you know, or people who live like in Chabad communities. I want to affect Chabad communities, and I want to affect the world, like like everywhere. I want my music everywhere,
on
you
the
know?
radio.
Yeah, on the radio, dude. Like fame. Like I want to be famous.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, do you want to be rich or famous? And for me, I want to be famous. I also want to be rich, but like I don't care that much about money. Like I don't care that much to be rich. I care more to be famous because
impact.
Fame is impact.
Yeah.
You know, like money is like, I guess it's more comfort and it's more like power, but like fame is impact. Fame is like, I am affecting people with what I say and what I do on a large scale.
Yeah.
And there's definitely downsides to fame. And like I talk to people about it, and like I'm not even there yet. And I'm like trying to think through like, okay, like can I handle this? Can I handle this? Can I handle this? Because I want to manifest it and I want it to come true, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm willing to take the negative ends of fame that I've heard and that I've spoken with people about. And like I have friends who have some levels of fame, and they've like told me the problems with it, and like, you know, and I feel like I'm willing to take it because I want to make that impact. I want to, you know, I also love attention. Like I have to throw that in there. I also love attention. Let's not forget that I love attention, and I want people to notice me, and that's super important to me. And that's probably a big part of why I want fame, but also I want to make an impact on the world. And
it's interesting you mentioned like loving fame, loving attention, because I feel like there's a lot of shame in the attention seeking game. And I'm curious, like if you've experienced it or...
I feel like I don't know what I read. I read something this week on Instagram. I didn't read like a book, although I am reading a book right now, but like I read something on Instagram that said something like, maybe it was on Twitter. I don't know. Parents say they're like, if their child, he just wants attention about a kid.
Right.
And like, what if that's not a bad thing? Like, what if attention is like a healthy need, the same way food or water is? Like a parent wouldn't say, "Oh, well, he just wants some food right now." Like they would just get the kid food, you know?
Like let him get over it.
Yeah.
Just go drink some water, go to sleep.
Yeah. So like, it's like attention is. There's always been like, I guess a bit of a stigma. Like you want attention. Like what? Like you shouldn't want attention. But like, you know, I guess it's because humility is really important. You know, like. Yeah. Like I think you mentioned earlier, like it's hard to go to one side without extreming on that one side, you know? Like it's hard to like go against the mainstream Jewish music without completely disrespecting it, you know? And it's also hard to promote humility while also promoting like healthy amounts of needing attention, you know? It's like hard to have both ends of it. I think humility is a great value, and I think seeking attention is generally like I don't know if it's a value or something that's like necessarily valuable, but it's like if you need it, you need it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with needing attention, I guess. And also like I think you like, I don't know, like I'll make up a study because this is like, I think I heard this when I was like 11. Like without human contact, I think people like die faster.
For sure.
Like without connecting with other human beings, I think like the lifespan shortens. I read that when I was like 11, and I don't know if that's true. I have no data for it, but it makes sense in my head. Like, you know, like you need to interact with people. You need to engage with other human beings. Like it's impossible to be alone. So like wanting attention, I guess it makes sense. Like, you know, like getting attention means you're not alone. It means that people are showing you that you're not alone. And like, funny enough, like to turn that back around, like it's not just about me getting attention that I want and me getting fame that I want. It's also like, I really want to empower fans and listeners and people who like the music and people who connect with it to like not feel alone and not feel like they're alone in their emotions. And a big part of me being vulnerable and expressive, and like a big message that I've been trying to put forward subconsciously, for sure. I don't know how conscious, like I don't know if I say the words necessarily out loud that often, but for me it's like, hey guys, I'm expressing vulnerable emotion. You can do it too. Like, and when you see someone expressing emotion that represents what you feel inside, you're like, oh my God, like I'm not alone in this. And that's like one of the greatest feelings, to feel validated and seen for your own emotions, you know? Yeah. And one of the best feelings I get is when people have told me, hey, that song that you just sang, you just said words and you just expressed something that I feel on the inside that I have no idea how to express, and you just did it for me. Like when you hear that from someone, you're like, oh my God, like, what is that? What am I even doing? Like, that's insane. Like, how can I do that? You know? And a big part of what I'm trying to do is like, be that person who can express and help others express and feel like they're not alone in negative feelings. And then we should definitely talk about negativity and positivity in music, and I have a lot to say on that too.
So before we do, this whole thing about like humility and needing attention, I've been really like deep diving in this for myself and trying to like look at the shame of needing attention and all of that. So it was definitely like a question that, you know, I've been thinking about. That's why I asked it. But one of the things that I realized, how being famous is like you didn't say it's a responsibility, but it feels like a responsibility to have that much impact.
Yeah.
And I think it takes to really step into that space of being that quote unquote powerful in this space of being famous, being well known, having impact in the work that you do, takes an incredible like next level of humility to allow all these emotions and all these feelings and all these expressions flow through you.
Yeah.
It doesn't like, if it's really straight up ego, then like it's just going to be a copy paste of like the next whatever's going on, whatever's feeding the algorithm. But if it's a true expression of who you are in a way that's like embodied and an expression of some sort of like emotion and feeling and a process or whatever, that takes an incredible amount of humility to be able to put it out and not know how it'll be received, not know how it'll impact, but know that that's what has to happen through you.
Yeah. I think that that's like a big thing I've told artists. Like people are like, hey, like I write songs, but like I don't want to share them, or like I've made paintings, but I don't know if I should show anyone, or like I draw in my notebook. Like all the ways people express themselves, like they're like afraid to share it because, you know, it's vulnerability. It's showing like, hey, like I put my time, my effort, my thought, my emotion into something. I put my soul into something. Like, am I going to really show it to people? Am I going to share that? You know? And I feel like as an artist, it's an artist's duty to share. That's what I feel like. It's like, you must share. You have to share what you have, because when you share what you have, number one, like you are expressing yourself, which in itself, I think is a good thing. Like you being yourself in itself is an act of good.
And it's light and it's great.
And then also you also affect others. Like not only is it great for you, it's great for other people. Like when you express yourself, like you don't know how you can affect other people. And art is one of the greatest effectors of mankind. Like art has shifted culture and society and humanity and like politics and everything that we do. Not everything, but many of the things that we do and like the ways we live our lives. Like art is such a big part of it. You know, like you walk into a house that has paintings on the walls, like you can tell who lives there, you know? Like you see the books people read, you see like cooking. Like I think cooking is like one of the underrated arts, because I wish I was good at it. I wish I was a good cook. Like I've always wanted to be a good cook, but I never did it. Well, I haven't done it yet. Yeah. I have to start saying that. I haven't done it yet. But like cooking is like when you see like a chef in their zone, like, and watching that is like another experience. You're like, what is going on over there? Like, I have no idea what he's doing. You know, I have no idea what the chef is doing, but like, I'm like blown away. Like you watch, like, there's like TV shows based around like what chefs are doing, you know, like it's an art, you know, and there's like art is a huge effector of mankind. And I think that it's important and it's our responsibility as artists to share it. And it's such a shame to not share it. And when you see people who are really good and don't share it, it's like, what are you doing? Like, come on, like you have to, like, it's not an option, you know? And not in a forceful way, not in like I'll make you, but like this is the greatest privilege that you have as someone who can express themselves through art, through an art form, to express themselves through that art form. Like not everyone gets the ability to do that. You know?
Yeah. And I think realizing that like, it's not about like having an ego. It's about not having an ego. It's about like really like embodying that experience and putting it out as like knowing that that's your, listen, you could just go and, I don't know, buy and sell whatever on the stock market, which you can do as well. But there's something that it's so hard, and I think it's very humbling, and that's from my experience. And I think it's really cool that you do that, and that it's such a like strong. It's like it's such a forefront top value. In the way that you show up in the art space.
Certainly.
I guess I want to invite our listeners to, before we continue, to like think about what those things are that are like uniquely you. And I'm speaking to myself and thinking about what those things are that I can really just express without any expectation for how it'll be received or where or when or who or
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the most important things to me, and I should say it more often for sure. But you know, it's like definitely in person when I'm talking to artists that are like ashamed or afraid or like worried about the response. It's like, come on, like even if you're not good, that's also a big part of it. Even if you're not good, you know, like no one starts off good. No one starts off amazing at what they do, you know, and everyone's like afraid to not be perfect because you look online and you look everywhere, like everyone seems perfect. Everyone seems like they got it going, you know. You see these musicians, they're like, oh my God, like they have so many followers. They seem like they're making a lot of money. They're making songs with huge people. Like you don't know what they're really feeling or experiencing. And like one big like wake up call for me was like speaking with some people who are connected and do have a lot of followers and, you know, and are like living the artist life and hearing like how unstable it is and how worried they are and how much anxiety there is in that life. And like it seems perfect. You look, you're like, wow, like they're so funny and perfect. And all their social media posts are just exactly what is so interesting. And like, wow, they're really trending right now. And their songs are so great, but like, you know, like you don't really know what they're going through. That's one thing. And then also just to lean back in to what I was just saying is that when you start, you're not necessarily good and you're usually not the best when you start, but you know, it starts with a spark and it turns into a flame and it turns into a fire, you know, and that's like when I started, I could not sing in front of a single human being. I would only sing. I would only sing up till I was 15, really. Up till I was 14, I would only sing to myself quietly. I never sang out loud in front of people. I was scared too. Like, I didn't know if I sounded good, but I kind of liked singing, but like, I never like thought of it as like as a thing, you know, like I think it was never a thing I did, but I was always scared to sing in front of other people. It was like very scary. And then when I was the year before Wilkes, I wrote my first song. A friend was like playing piano. I couldn't play piano at the time. And he was playing the piano for me. And like, I wrote a melody to it. I consider it my first Alnev song because it feels like the first song that really, it just feels like it came from the part of me that is the musician in me. So like I can label it as that. And like everything from that song and on is like under the name Alnev, even though the name Alnev didn't exist then, you know?
Yeah.
Because like it was the part of that soul that didn't have a name yet. And then I named it later. So now I can look back and be like, yep, that was an Alnev song. But at that time, like I wouldn't sing in front of anyone, just the kid who played piano. And like I was pretty scared too. And, you know, it was super scary. And then in Wilkes, when I got there, in the beginning, I didn't sing in front of people. I was playing a little bit of piano on like this like horrible keyboard that was there that my friend brought, and I was just like messing around on it, and I started writing more songs there, and I was scared to play in front of people. And at some point I was like, okay, one person like walked in while I was playing. I was like, okay, like, can you listen for a second? And then they listened, or they were like, no, they were like, can I listen? I was like, yeah, sure, I guess. And they listened, and I was so embarrassed and scared. They're like, oh, this is pretty good. I was like, oh, okay, like that's not bad. I like that. That's cool. And then two people were listening, and then we had an open mic night. Like Wilkes like does stuff like that to like kind of like bring out the creativity in you, because it's filled with kids who happen to be creative. And I did an open mic night, and I was literally shaking, and I was like so scared, and I sang in front of, I don't know, like 15 people, and I was scared out of my wits. And then
your song that you sang?
I sang like my own songs, and I played a cover of like a random thing on piano that I had like learned. And it started at nothing. It literally started, I couldn't sing in front of anyone, and then last year I sang in front of 700 people. Crazy. 700 people. Like it's not even like, thinking about it like blows my mind. I can't believe I did that, you know? But like the fear is not there anymore. Like I don't feel fear to sing in front of people. I might feel self-conscious sometimes, but it's not like I'm not afraid. I'm more like sometimes like, okay, I might like if I make a mistake, like I'm conscious of any mistake I make on a stage, and I could beat myself up about the mistakes, but like overall, like I don't really have stage fright. Like for me, it's like I've kind of over time gone from being completely afraid of singing in front of anyone to being like, okay, like this is me, like take it or leave it, like you can be at the show and you can come and enjoy and listen, or if you're not at the show, you're not at the show, but like it's just like this is me and I'm going to express myself and kind of falling in love with my own expression. And I came up with a quote. I was like walking and
so powerful.
Yeah, this is like something I was thinking about. I just told my therapist this. Like I came up with this quote recently, and like I like to come up with like quotes or poems or songs, but this like one quote that I want to kind of like bring it to the forefront of my mind when I can. And it's something along the lines of, when you fall in love with your own expression, the freedom you seek will find you.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like it. Like I really worked on it. I was like walking for like 20 minutes and like trying to like flip around the letters and
put
words.
It on t-shirts?
Yeah, maybe I should make some t-shirts with that. But what that means to me is like when you fall in love with the act of expression itself, with you really being yourself, then the freedom you seek will find you. Because like we're all seeking freedom. We're all seeking like to feel good and happy and like content and settled and like okay. And it's like, why don't I feel okay? And I feel like what I need, at least for myself, is like I need to like, I love being vulnerable and I love expressing, but like I'm obviously not perfect, and I obviously care what people think of me, and what people say negatively to me will still hurt me. I'm still human, but a big problem that artists have over time is like the more you're putting out content, the more it's like, okay, it stops being about you and your own expression. It starts being about the audience. Like, okay, like, oh, what are they going to think if I write this? What are they going to think if I write this? Like, is this good enough to show the audience? Can I say this? Can I not say this? Like you start like,
what's he going to say about me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's like a consciousness that over time that kind of builds up. You like kind of get like self-conscious, like, oh no, like should I do this, should I not? And like you start thinking about the audience, and then your expression becomes even more filtered from being it stops being you expressing yourself and starts being you expressing a filtered version of yourself that is still yourself, but it's filtered now for an audience. And when I started writing music, it wasn't like that. I never thought of an audience because I never thought I'd play in front of an audience. I was just writing songs. And like a lot of songwriters I've spoken to have the same experience. Like in the beginning, it's blissful, it's magical, you're innocent, and you don't know what it's like to have feedback. And once you get feedback, it's like, okay, like I need to change my behaviors now to get better feedback next time, and then over time you're becoming into like a crowd pleaser. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing in itself, because you like, if you're feeding an audience, the audience is as important as you are, but you are also very important as an artist. The primary part of it that I think is what I think is primary as an artist is expressing yourself, regardless of the audience, expressing who you are.
Right.
And yeah,
it's so interesting because that's one of the first questions that I thought of to ask you, which we didn't really get to, which is great. But I am like so curious about what that process is for you, because I am well aware that artists and people who put things out really have their audience, or like performing for an audience, and like what that balance is of like you expressing yourself versus like having your audience in mind and having a niche, or giving your audience what they want, like all that kind of stuff. How you like deal with that?
Okay. This is one thing that I'm really, really like in the crux of working on, and I'm still I'm not at the other end.
We're in the trenches with you here.
Yeah, I'm in the trenches right now. Like a big problem I have is like nowadays you need to be putting out content like TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. Like that is the way that's how artists are affecting people on a large scale. That's how people are getting attention. That's how music is getting big nowadays, is TikTok. That's just it's the reality of life right now. It's algorithms pushing forward content to feed personalities of audiences that have been scanned and recognized by these algorithms because they know so much about us now that they know exactly what we're going to like, And the problem I have with that is like, it's really difficult to go viral on everyone wants to be viral, because when you go viral, that's when you get attention, and that's when you make the most impact, and that can lead to a long lasting career, And nowadays virality repeat virality can lead to a long lasting career. You know, if you can keep up being viral, like you're good, you know,
or if you can build like a strong like core base.
Yeah. So the problem with nowadays that I have, the struggle I have is like, it's so difficult to make content. The whole thing with like these algorithms and these apps is you're making content purely for people. Like if you want to affect people, you have to always have people in mind. And the audience becomes the forefront because you're making content that's like, okay, I need to serve this demographic of people because I want those people as my fans. So what can I make that will like reach these people, these fans, this demographic, you know? Immediately, like just looking at that line of thinking, that's not art. That's advertising. That's marketing.
Business.
That's business,
yeah.
You know? And the whole thing has turned into business. It's just like, how can we make a business strategy that will lead to content creation that affects a specific demographic that we can pull in so that hopefully they'll keep engaging with you over time, you know?
You have the ROI and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time with that because like I have a hard time balancing expression of myself at the same time as focusing on an audience, especially when it's in terms of like video content. Like I can write music and I can write music. I know I can do that. It's something I'm confident in. Like I can write like a good song, you know, I can write a great song. I can write an amazing song. I can write a banger, you know, but like, I'm not a video editor. I'm not a video creator. I've never been a vlogger. I've never been a social media mastermind. I've just been a guy who makes music and I love making music, and like I have social media. I have Instagram so I can connect with fans and so I can show my audience like the music I make, and hopefully people will engage with it. And you know, like it's like, here's my resume, here's my Instagram, like, you know, look at it, see if you like anything. You can connect with me there. You can reach out to me on Instagram. You know, that's how I connect with most people. But I was never a video creator, and it was never a big thing for me to make video. Like it was like, if I have to, I'll post, you know, but now it's like, you need to make video content. Like everyone just says it, you need to make video content, and they're right, because you need to, but it's difficult. It's like, I just want to be an artist, you know, I don't want to be I've never been a content creator. I'm an artist, you know, and the term content creator isn't art. Content creator is business. It's I'm creating content with the intention of feeding a specific audience, and I've never been that. So I'm trying to find a balance with that. And the reason why I came up with the saying like 2 weeks ago, which was, when you fall in love with your own expression, the freedom you seek will find you, right? The whole point of that is if I can fall in love with the expression itself, if I can make TikTok videos that are just me expressing myself, that have nothing to do with an audience. I don't even care if they get any views. I don't think about the views. I don't think about the comments. I don't think about the shares or the likes. If I can get to a place where I don't think about any of that, and I'm just creating videos because I like it.
When you can get to that point.
Yeah. When I can get to that point. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I need to get to that point. So when I get to that point, and I think that I'll be free. Like I'll be free of the shackles of like the audience's needs and desires when it comes to the business side of content creation. Like I just want to get, like, I don't want that. I just want to make content that I love, you know, and music that I love. And I need to just become a little better at making videos and make them in a way that's fun and exciting. And I found that the TikToks that I've made that I like, that are exciting, is when I do it collaboratively, when my roommate helps me or when I work with other people. Cause then it's just like a fun experience, you know, like working alone for me is a little tough. Like I'm an extrovert. I need other people all the time. Not all the time. It's not true. Not all the time, but I love being around other people, and it really energizes me. Yeah. And if I'm doing something difficult for me, like doing it with someone else, piece of cake. Yeah. Cause then we can suffer through it together, and then we can laugh about it later, you know,
or laugh about it while you're suffering.
Yeah, exactly. We'll laugh in the suffering, you know, but like doing it alone it's hard. So I want to get to a place, and I'm going to get to a place, manifesting this right now. I'm going to get to a place where I can create TikTok videos and Instagram reel videos and have a larger social media presence in a way that feeds the algorithm, but is only for the purpose of my own expression. That's what I want.
In alignment with who you truly are.
Yes.
Yeah. And who knows what the next app is going to be. I mean, TikTok's been around. TikTok's been the biggest for, I think, a little too long now.
Yeah.
We'll see what's next. And I have a feeling that, like, you know, I'm hoping that it'll help us with our expression even more, because TikTok really changed the game for so many people.
Yes.
In an incredible way. I know there's a lot of like, you know, a lot of resentment and a lot of judgment towards TikTok. And you mentioned a lot of like the reasons for it, but what if we can just like love the expression of it and the experience, because it's incredible.
Yeah. There's some really, really good things about TikTok. That's for sure. I haven't mentioned them. Like there's artists who would be nowhere.
You mentioned some of them.
Well, but there's artists who would be nowhere without TikTok, you know? Yeah. TikTok has taken the power from huge labels who are just throwing money at artists and throwing money at advertising and completely own artists, to allow artists to on their own build a following. If they can build a following. That's the if, you know, like if they can do it right, they can be completely self-run using TikTok, you know, and get so many opportunities from TikTok. It's a game changer, you know, but I happen to experience more the negative end. But when I go viral and when things are going well, I'm going to tell you it's amazing. I'm going to tell you how much I love it.
But it's so interesting because like it's so like expressive of the human experience of like, that's the challenge where you have to get it like just right, like mix the ingredients to like the perfect amount with like the perfect temperature and the right amount of interference, but then also backing off and walking away and turning the timer on and coming back and checking notifications, not every 2.5 seconds, but like maybe every 2 hours or whatever. And it's so like telling of who we are as people and what our experiences are, what our experience is, which is so fascinating to me. Yeah. And no, not everyone's going to make it big on TikTok.
Unfortunately not.
Unfortunately not. But
there's too many of us. There's too many artists.
Incredible people.
Oh, thank you. But no, there's really like I don't even know how many TikTok videos are uploaded daily, but I'm assuming it's a lot, you know. There's so much content because everyone is trying to get on the bandwagon, you know. So every day it gets a little harder to go viral. Every day it gets a little harder to build an audience, and every day TikTok sends it to not as many people because they're sending other people out, you know. It's difficult. I think TikTok for me is it's a sore spot. Yeah. My relationship with it is not great yet, and can't wait to get there. It's going to be fun when I get there.
But so where are your which platforms do you have a good relationship with besides for Spotify?
I have a good relationship with, I think, at least in some way, Instagram. Mm-hmm. I've almost never had to take a break from it or delete it, or I've had a lot of people who on Instagram get jealous and they're like, I can't be on this app. It makes me judge myself and see other people. For me, it hasn't been such a problem. Yeah. I barely use my personal account on Instagram. I barely look at what my friends are doing on my personal, on my Alnev page. It's my public page. I use it for my own entertainment. I use it to connect with people. There's maybe a little bit of checking DMs, re-scrolling, trying to find anyone I haven't answered. There's a little bit, there's always going to be a little bit of a like still feels good, a comment still feels good, you know? And there are things that I could talk about a lot of bad relationships. Good relationships? That's a good question, you know? But Instagram overall, I have a decent relationship with it. I think definitely better than a lot of people I know. Mm-hmm. And posting stories for me is it's a good spot for me because most of the time it feels very natural. I just express myself on my stories. A lot of people I can't say a lot of people, but people respond to them. And I've had artists in a similar field tell me hey, your Instagram stories are always really great. I wish I did them like you. And I'm oh, okay. Sick. That's a good sign because I'm just being myself there. And I say a lot of crazy things and write a lot of insane things and that's me. So it's perfect, you know?
Yeah. I think your stories are great.
Thanks.
And I wonder how you can take that kind of chaotic energy to TikTok. Cause I think that artists, when they go there, they forget that it's such a chaotic, insane app.
That's a good point.
That you just need to it's off the rails. You know what I mean? They're oh, let's do some behind the scenes, but then you have this perfectly day in the life of, and it's nobody wants to watch this. Keep going.
Yeah, it's a good point. I need to lean into that, the chaos
stories,
of it.
Your story, personality.
Yeah, it would be nice. But the thing with video, it's I guess it's also a fear of expression maybe because with video you're literally showing yourself on a video doing something, you know. with a song, at least like you don't see my face necessarily, or like although like I don't care to show my face when I'm singing a song, but like like I don't really post so many videos on my stories of me talking on my stories with my face in it. Like
Right.
I don't know, like it feels like a little much. Like that's
Yeah.
a place that I haven't leaned into so much because it's
Right.
like I don't know, like when people do that on their stories, I usually don't watch them because I'm like, okay, you're talking to a screen, like you're talking to us through a screen, fine. Like I don't know, it doesn't get me so much. But also like there's for sure a little bit of fear there, like oh no, like I don't look so good, or like I don't like how I look right now, and like I don't want to post me talking because like I don't like my voice right now, or like like because talking is different than singing. Singing is like it's a whole nother thing. Like I've gone really comfortable with singing in front of people, but talking, like I don't know if I'd be great on a stage if I just had to make a speech.
Right.
Like I'd get way more nervous saying a speech than singing a song.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But it's just so crazy because like as soon as you feel comfortable somewhere, like it's already the next thing. Like you finally like comfortable like with your stories, and you share like lyrics that you've written that are like super dark and like all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
and,
I have
like,
a lot to say.
And you just like jump right in, but then like the next frontier of like the next thing, and it's not like the next shiny object. It's like the next layer of like you.
Yeah.
And it's just like so much.
Yeah, there's like everything you beat, there's another thing to work on, We're in a video game that has infinite levels, like we're never, there's a couple of boss battles, but like we never reach the end of the game. Yeah. So it's like you're never perfect, and we'll never be perfect, and perfection, it could be a goal, but we'll never get to that goal necessarily, but we got to keep, like I can do this and I can do this and I can express myself in these ways comfortably, but what about the things I'm still uncomfortable with? I still have to work on those things, and you're never done. We're never done growing.
It also could be a goal, but like it's not a goal. Is that really the goal you want? Like, is that your priority? Is that your value? Like being perfect can be a goal, but is that really what you want?
I don't know. Well, sometimes it feels like what I want. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Yes. So like it feels like it's what I want, but if you never had it, you don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's what I want.
You don't come off as being a perfectionist.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm definitely a bit of a perfectionist. I'm very, when I'm writing songs, I'm very, very like critical of what words I use, and very specific in getting things perfect in my head. Like I don't ever want to be like, that's not so good, which is a good thing because I have a high standards, But
it's tough.
A big problem with that I have with back to TikTok is like, since I'm a bit of a perfectionist, like I don't want to put out a video that isn't as high quality as the other amazing videos on TikTok, because I see like not high quality videos, I'm like, I don't know, like I don't really care to watch it that much. But when I see a high quality video, I'm like, the camera looks clean, you see things very clearly, like I want to watch this. So like then I want to make videos like that, but I don't have the equipment necessarily to do that, and I also don't know how to edit video like they do. Like there's like the need for perfection gets in the way of even trying, because it's like, if I'm not going to make it perfect, what am I doing?
Yeah.
That's the perfectionist in me.
I can totally relate to that, but that's what's really cool about TikTok and stories is that like my perfectionism a little bit takes a backseat.
You have perfectionism too?
Are you kidding?
Oh, sick.
I'm just like, that's why I'm like, but I feel like specifically Instagram stories and TikTok has really helped me like push past that. Not past it. I wouldn't say that, but like push a little bit, like test the waters a little bit of like, wait, this doesn't have to be perfect. It can be funny. Like, it could be like what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, but like it doesn't necessarily have to be as curated. Yeah.
I mean, it's all back to that phrase in my head, like when we fall in love with the expression of our art, with our own expression, because like if I can make my stories my own expression, if I can make TikTok's my own expression, if I can make everything my own expression, then, and I fall in love with that itself, then that's the freedom, that's the quote unquote perfection, that's the place.
Yeah. So you want to like unpack that a little bit, like in your experience, how you've been able to like take any of those steps in that direction?
I haven't taken enough steps in that direction to
well, you said it, so that's a step.
Well, I said it. I think we're on like stage 1 or stage 2, because stage 1 is denial. I don't know what the other stages are, but like I'm on the stage of like awareness of where I need to change and what I need to do better, and a little bit of working on it. You know, like I guess maybe one step I took was this, like I've always had this idea in my head that I have to write one song a month minimum. Like I have to, because I've always done one song a month. So like at least a song has to be done like by the end of the month. It's due. It's like a project. The problem with my music that I've had is that it's hard for me to write if I don't feel the need to write. So it's like if I don't feel an emotion that I need to release through writing, then like I can't just like lean into it. And sorry, I have this idea that I can't just lean into it, you know, and I've kind of had that idea, and it puts a lot of pressure. Like, okay, it's getting to the end of the month. It's the 29th and we end on the 31st, and you have to write a song before the end of the month. And like, oh my God, like figure it out, do something. And end of December 31st, it was Motzei Shabbos. I was like, I have to write a song. So I sat down, I wrote a song, and I was like, for this song, I know I have to do it because I have this idea that I have to. But what if I just make a song that without thinking of anyone else at all, it's just a song that I think is cool. And I did it, and I wrote a song I think is cool, and I don't think anyone likes it. Like I showed it to some people. Some people were like, yeah, it's okay. Some people were like, yeah, it's good. But like, I'm not getting like 10 out of 10 reviews on it. But like, I really like it. And I'm like, I am so happy with that, because I did something that I really like that feels like an expression of me that does, like, even if people don't like it, I'm happy I did it. So that was a huge step.
Yay.
Yeah. And then since then, I wrote 3 more songs this week. So it's Thursday today. I wrote one, I think Monday night at midnight, which is technically Tuesday, and then one on Tuesday day, and then Monday, sorry. So Sunday night midnight, then Monday day, and then Tuesday day. Something like that. I'm whatever. Point is, it's been 4 songs since Saturday night. And I've realized, like, if I just sit down by an instrument and I play for a bit and I just let myself play, and I let myself, it's okay. It doesn't need to be good. It doesn't need to be anything. Just be yourself. Find something. Like, go around, look, you know, be creative. Like, just chill, you know, just chill out, play this instrument. So I've been doing it, and 4 songs, you know, it's like, and I think they're pretty cool songs. You know, the first one is like fully for me, and like no one necessarily needs to like it. Then the next 3 are like, I think everyone would love them. And like, I'm not even thinking about other people when I write them, because I'm kind of trying to get through that and not think about it. But they're pretty mainstream. They're cool for a mainstream. They're a little intense. One of them is super dark, and I posted lyrics on my story, and someone called me like, is this song about me? I got like, one of the problems with like my songs, like the intensity is like, I'll post like a sad song on my story, and people are like, are you okay? What's going on? Like, I'll get calls from friends like, hey, like, is this song about me? I'm like, oh my God, like, no, like, it's not. Also, if it was about you, you would know it was about you, and or you would never see it. That's the thing. Like, you're not gonna.
You wouldn't know.
Either, yeah, like you're not going to see, I'm not going to post a song knowing that you'll see it unless I want you to see it. Like, you'll know when it's you. And like, I don't like when people know a song's about them. I've discovered the hard way not to show people songs that are about them. It never works well. Never, like, I have to remind myself not to do it, because I've only really done it like twice or 3 times, but it's always been a mistake. I always regret it after. It's like, no. Like, you can't show people songs about them, especially sad songs or mad songs. You know, you just gotta like, just do it and hope that they don't hear it, or hope that if they do hear it, they don't ask you about it, you know?
Ride the wave.
Yeah, but it's also really funny because the last song I put out is a song called Drugs, which just came out like 3 weeks ago or something. And that song is...
I was going to ask you about it. So,
oh, sweet. Yeah, great. I need to promote it a little more, but that song, like the person it's about, I wrote that song in 2020. And I don't want to get into too much detail, because if the person hears this, it'll be a problem. But they like heard the song after it came out, and they like messaged me like, hey, your new song's really cool. And they have no idea it's about them. And I'm like, okay, this is great. Because like, if I'm glad it wasn't like, hey, like, is that about me? Like, because then I'd be like, am I going to lie right now? Do I have to say it? Like, no, I don't want to do this, you know? But it seems like they don't know, and I hope they don't know. And it was funny. They're like, yeah, it's cool. I was like, okay. Like, the person I wrote a song about called it cool. Nice. You know?
What was it?
The song,
do you want to talk about the song?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're going to listen to this. They might. I mean, they might, because I'm going to promote this, but...
You better.
Yeah, but I want to, I want to like give details that of why they wouldn't see this, but then people will know who it is. So I'm not going to give any details about why
We can cut out the part before if you want.
No. I'll tell you after.
Okay.
But basically, it's a song about a relationship. I call friendships relationships for some reason.
Yeah, because they are.
Because they are, you know.
Absolutely.
And they've been like, in some way, the most impactful relationships that I've had have really been friendships. And a lot of my music is about friendships and friends.
Can we take a moment for that? I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think there's so much attention to like romantic relationships, specifically in music, and it's like it's a bit much.
Yeah. I think
so. And it's like a lot of the emotions are very relatable, but like the extent that so much of like the romantic relationships are played up in music
bit overused
is too much.
Got it. I get that.
And like I love that you're playing up this like other part of relationships and friendships.
Well, to be fair, it's because I haven't really had that many like romantic relationships.
Which is so much more relatable, let's be honest.
Yeah. But there's only one romantic, whatever that means, whatever that even means. There's only one romantic figure that I've written about. There's only one girl that I've written about romantically ever, and she's got a lot of songs to her name. Like as of yesterday, it's a lot. I don't even want to say the number because it's embarrassing. But yeah, a lot of songs are about friends, and because friends have really had a huge impact on me, and I've been hurt by friends, and I've had my heart broken by friends, and I'm a sensitive person, and I'm a pretty deep friend. You know, like it's not like I don't really have so many shallow friendships for me. It's like I've always been like, if you're friends with me, we're going all in. Like I want to know all your trauma. I want to know all your secrets, and I want you to know all of mine, you know, like it's very deep, you know. But the song is about a friendship that wasn't going well and wasn't healthy for me, that I was addicted to. Like it was just like I craved a friendship that wasn't good for me. And like the song is like, the main line is, some people are drugs. And it's like this like thought, like, you know, like some people are just like, they're just addictive, you know, like they just get you, like they know exactly what to say to make you laugh. They know, like they make you feel good for some reason, even though they're not good for you, you know? And it was a friend who was like that. And our relationship is very different now, you know, as I've said, but at that point it was a really rough couple of months because of this friend, because of what was going on. And it was during COVID, and it was a whole thing. And oh God. Yeah. If they ever hear this, I said too much. But regardless.
Shout out to
whoever you are. Oh my God. I hope they don't hear this. But anyway, honestly, they'll be honored. They'll be honored to know I spoke about them. Okay. So I'll say that. But this friend just like, it was a rough time. And I wrote a couple songs, and this was one of them. It was called Drugs. And I really liked it. When I played it for people like really liked it. And these songs, the last 3 songs I put out, Van Gogh, Rip, which is R.I.P. or Rip, whatever you want to call it.
Van Gogh was so good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so Van Gogh, Rip, and Drugs are the last 3 songs I put out. And it's a big part of why I put out those 3 was because Van Gogh had a lot of demand behind it. I was playing it for people. I wrote it during COVID also, and I've been playing it for people since, like at shows and small events. And there's always been so much demand around that song. People have always been like, when is it coming out? What's going on with it? I got so many messages about it. I was like, okay, that's definitely on the list, you know. Rip was one that didn't have that many people who knew about it or wanted it to come out. But like after I wrote it, I was like, I don't know, something about this, like I need to put this one out. It felt so cool and interesting. I mean, I was producing it with Yosef. It's a song produced by Yosef David, who's one of the
shout out to
Yosef David, one of the best, most awesomest, like one of the most amazing artists that I have the pleasure of being friends with. He's so great. Like he's amazing. But Yosef produced that song, and like the whole production process, you know, it's stressful to produce because you just spend so many hours like laying down instruments and trying to come up with ideas, and you know, it's a whole thing. But he really was a champ, and he sat through a lot, and I'm so happy with the production on that song. And like, I love how it sounds, and I was so happy to have that one come out. And then Van Gogh and Drugs were both produced by someone named Shlomo Wolf. He's my main producer. He's my partner in music. He is the reason why I can do a lot of what I can do. And like, without him, I don't think I'd be really doing this, honestly, because he's put so much time and energy into my music and invested so much in me. And he's really awesome, an amazing person. and produced those 2 songs. And Drugs was also like a song that had a lot of people who were interested in hearing it and were like, yo, when are you putting this out? And like, I knew it was a favorite of a couple of the fans. And like, fans for me are people who listen to the music, are interested, engage, and you know, like what a fan is. And there's there's not that many of them, because people will like it. People will like one song and they'll follow you, or people will not follow you and like some of your songs. But like a fan is someone who like really likes to engage with you and cares about your career. You know, that's what a fan is. And a couple of those people who really care about my career and are interested and invested in it, those people were like, Drugs is a really good song. And I was like, you know what? I love it too. That's one of the songs I want to put up. I wanted to put out. And some of the future music that's coming soon is also based on fan favorites, like things that fans have really been like, this has really affected me. And I'm like, you know what? Okay. Like in my head, I'm like, okay, that's one I got to put out, you know? Cause like I've written over 110 songs now, I think I've written a lot of songs. So it's hard to choose what comes out, what doesn't. So I want to have all of them out, but things take time, production takes time. But the best I can do is put out things that at least the fans want, you know? Yeah. And that doesn't feel like it's not me, because it's like just putting it out is a privilege. Yeah, it's a relationship. And just putting it out is a privilege. Like at least I'm putting out music, you know? Like it's not like I want to put out something different. I'm putting out music. That's amazing. I love it. It's the best.
Yeah. That's what's so interesting about like are you creating it? Are you putting it out because you're trying to make a sale or trying to build a business? Or are you creating a community? So is it a relationship that you're like, you know, kind of feeding back into?
Yeah, I hate the business end. Yeah. I just want it to be community, but it's rough to do community without the business end, you know? Yeah. Because you got to have more people.
How do you do it?
I don't yet, because I'm not that big yet. That's the thing. Like I'm not, like when we talk in a couple of years or hopefully tomorrow, you know, whenever it's going to be.
Exactly.
But when there's a huge audience, then like we'll see how I did it. But now it's kind of like I've been focusing more on the community end, and I'm trying to lean more into the business end and lean more into the content creation end and lean more into the sides that I don't love as much, because I just love art. And I'm trying to lean into those sides, and doing that will lead to bigger and better and more me. So
yeah, so cool.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm so inspired. I feel like it's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, if I can inspire people, I'm chilling. You know, I'm good. Yeah. I'm happy with that.
That's all you need.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to ask?
Is there anything you'd like to close with? That's my question.
Close with. We could do a message to the people who are listening.
I'd like to end with something relevant, like a message from my guest. But I could ask you one more question.
Yeah, can we do one more question?
What are you most proud of in your work as an artist?
Oh my God, what am I most proud of?
Or least proud of?
Yeah, if you negative questions will always get me.
Okay.
What am I most proud of? I mean, we've spoken about it already, but I think the effect that I've been able to have, even at this level, even at this stage where I'm not I don't even have 3,000 followers on Instagram yet, but I've had people reach out to me and tell me how that my music has affected them. Mm-hmm. And I've spoken words, like I said before, I've spoken words that they felt inside but didn't know how to say, and I've inspired other artists to put out their own art, and that's the best thing ever. Yes, I love that I can do that, you know? I want to inspire artists to be themselves and put out art that feels like them, especially if they came from a community that I came from. And, mm-hmm. you know, this community needs more vulnerable, impactful art. And something I wanted to bring up is the positive, negative thing, which is there's so much obsession. We lean so much into the extreme of positivity. Yeah. You know, and positivity is so important. You have to be positive. Otherwise, life's going to suck, you know, and life kind of does suck sometimes, but positivity is important, but negativity is so I happen to find negativity so much more
full of life.
It's filled with substance.
Yeah.
You know, and the music that I've made, a lot of it is people will say, oh, it's negative. You know, it's about sadness or depression or anger or rage or melancholy or all the ways that all the negative feelings. I love writing about negativity because I happen to have experienced a lot of it. So I have a lot to write about, you know, and I'm more neurotic. So my negative emotion is more apparent to me and more extensive, I guess. I feel like it's expressing negative, like by negative, I don't like even saying the word sounds like a dirty word, you know, but like dark and sad and expressive, vulnerable music. Like people hear that and they're like, oh my God, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like someone is saying it, you know, because like we can all pretend to be happy and we can all be like, oh yeah, like let's dance a bunch, you know, like, yeah, sure. Like I want to dance sometimes. I love dancing, you know, I'm not the greatest dancer yet, but I love dancing. And, you know, like I'm happy sometimes on occasion, you know, but
you wouldn't do it too often, God forbid.
Yeah, but God forbid. but like vulnerability about negative things is just like it's huge, and like it's makes such an impact. Like like I don't see so many people going like, yeah, dude, like your happy song really brought out all my happiness. Like I guess maybe people have that, but like I don't know if that feels like such a need. I mean, I feel like it's probably important, but like in terms of a priority in my head, like I want to make sure someone feels not alone and validated and understood and like, and that includes negative emotion, you know, because like there's been such a like push against negative emotion because there's not that many sad songs in this community, you know, and like it's like, come on, like let's play happy music. It's a holiday, you know, and I can rant forever about people telling me, why don't you write more happy songs? Or like, why are all your songs so sad? It's like, you're missing the point. Yeah. Like it's vulnerability, and it could end up being happy. Like if I was really feeling happy and I write a happy song, like I have a couple of songs that aren't as dark, you know, well, dark, I like to think of like the evil side, but like, like I have a couple songs that are more positive, but like, I don't know if that's necessarily the best expression of me, because me is more me at this point and at this stage. I've experienced a little more things on the negative end of the spectrum. So it's like really like it would go against being an artist to express a feeling that I'm not feeling, and I'm going to express what I feel, and that's what has the effect because it's really me, you know? And like that's like whatever you are expressing as an artist, and maybe this is the message that people should take from this, like whatever you're expressing as an artist, if it's you, it's enough. Like that's what it should be. Like if it's you and it's negative and it's sad and it's dark, or it's happy and it's light and it's positive, or like as long as it's you and it really represents a vulnerable expression of what you feel, then we're good. Then you're good. Then you can make an impact with that. Yeah. You know, and I feel like that's what we should encourage. Real art. Real could be negative. It could be positive. Whatever it is, it's real art. It could be
perfect. It could be imperfect.
Whatever it is, it's real. Yeah. Realness is like, you can't fake realness, you know? Because realness, like when you feel it, you feel it. You know when someone is being real. You know when someone's being real. Like you just sense it, you know? And that's what we need more of. We need more of that.
Amen.
I
love that.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. And I feel like you are such a great example for that. And I really appreciate you taking the time.
I try to be.
To like, listen, I mean, it's never going to be exactly as you want it to be. Yeah. But I mean, that's part of it.
Yep.
You know, that's part of just like expressing your experience and expressing who you are. And I really appreciate that you took the time to come and share with our audience, because I think it's my pleasure. So yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. Like it's speaking and ranting is like my favorite thing. Yeah. I mean, other than making music is my favorite thing. Like I love speaking and ranting. So thank you for like the privilege and honor of being on this podcast. I'm so happy to be on it.
Thank you. And do you want to tell everyone where they can find you?
Yes,
besides
thank
for
you.
Instagram, please.
Thank you for reminding me. Thank you. I have to do that because I don't shout myself out enough at the end of things. You could find me on Instagram at Alnev, which is ALNEV. You could find me on TikTok. You could find me, like if you look up Alnev anywhere, you can find me. If you
Spotify, add Alnev songs.
Exactly. If you like my songs on Spotify, follow me on Spotify. It's the same thing. ALNEV, Alnev. Check it out. If you don't like it, tell me. Send me hate. Like please send me like hate.
Don't do it.
I'm not joking. No. Like honestly, like because hate for me is feedback. I want it. Like I want to know if someone doesn't like things. Like because like that means you engaged. Like I'd rather hate than ignorance. I don't know. It's just like a thing I like to think about.
That's good
but
to know.
Send hate, send love. Love is good. I really like love. I love when people send me love. So please send me love. Attention's good. Send attention, listen to the songs. And I hope that when you listen to them, you feel heard and seen and you feel like you're experiencing real art, because that's what I'm trying to do. And I hope that you feel that way. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be on this.
Yeah, it's been great. Okay. Everyone else who's listening, I'll plug my own podcast and come back and see us again soon.